perhaps some other tradition or no tradition at all, as opposed to, growing up in a particular tradition. Sometimes you don't maybe appreciate it as much or dig as deeply into the underlying meaning. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Well, I think we're observing the evolution of the whole thing and adjustment to its movement here, location here. And I think as Bishop Harada certainly recognizes that in the long run, Shin Buddhism is moving here and it's got to really evolve on its own and fit fit uh, fit everything here.
Absolutely.
There was a interesting seminar on Friday from the Kauai Council with Dr. Takahashi Miyaji that I hope they'll put on the internet. I think you would have enjoyed that. We had some pretty high powered attendees, including Ken Tanaka,
Wow.
Reverend Tanaka, on there too. So it was not intended for the beginner, but it's still quite understandable. So it's good to see that there are different points of teaching talent out there that are kind of becoming more accessible.
Yeah, yesterday I listened to the Vista Buddhist Temple. They put on the community gathering, which hosts Reverend Shibata, which is Shin, but two Zen Buddhists, female Zen Buddhists, who one's in Hawaii and the other's from the Midwest, with a Korean-based Buddhism, um, sharing their thoughts towards communities and how people are getting through the pandemic, and just how how they focus on getting out of the funk, I guess, basically. Um,
Well, that's interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
I have
and
the
this is like the third or fourth one that I've attended, and they're usually pretty good.
Hey, Mr. Shahara.
greetings, Mr. Shahara. Yeah, Hannah, I have the impression that the Korean tradition in Buddhism has a strong emphasis on Chan Buddhism, which is, I guess, the Chinese version of Zen. Um, but yeah, it's strong there. In fact, I think historically, didn't Buddhism go from China to Korea to Japan? Uh, so that's
I think
interesting.
so. Yeah, she said it was basically because she grew up in Michigan, and that was the because she actually grew up. I mean, um, her family was actually Shin, but basically when they relocated to Michigan, their only contact with a Buddhist temple was this Korean-based Buddhism, and she got some of her teaching out of Canada. So she got a mixture of the Canadian version versus American version.
Well, that's interesting. I grew up in Michigan. I'm glad to hear there are some Buddhists up there. It looks like Mr. Shahara may be having challenges with his audio, perhaps. Ah, good. Use the chat. That's good, Leah.
I text. I sent him a message. Maybe you have an earphone or ear plug plugged in.
like I say, sometimes Zoom can be tough. I was trying to do a Zoom with a buddy of mine, and somehow he couldn't hear me. But anyhow, I'm glad to see you all. And Hannah, I hope you join us again in a few minutes before the next Sunday service.
Yeah, well, that's going to be in December because I don't think there's one next weekend.
I think you're right. So happy Thanksgiving to y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same.
Enjoy the service.
If you
Oh,
can,
here's Mr.
Hey.
Shohara. No.
I had my audio off. So
Oh,
Mr. Shahara, is your first name pronounced Sai or C?
say,
say.
Neither one.
Yeah.
None of the above.
Same.
like S-A-Y.
Okay. Well, listen, enjoy the service, and I'll see you all in hopefully first Sunday in December.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Good morning to you all.
Thank
too.
you.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Thanksgiving service today. And a special welcome to all of you who are joining us for the first time. Welcome. We will begin our service with the ringing of the kansho, followed by the chanting of Jusege. And for those of you that would like to use the booklet that's in front of you, it's the purple book on page 93. You can follow along with that.
諸無才の少女三苦名交際集約難回避知恵言滅死根門案閉塞諸悪道通断伝宗門高僧上慢の異様の実法日月主十期健康音符源一週回報道公正読法両大集中説法四式供養一切分具足習得法元年出場万得意三害を女仏無下知通達未不詳感学営利投資最小損志願若国家内戦の官の国書店に当人名家ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがにしくどく明道聖祭道本も大心往生安なナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツナマンダーツ
We will now have the reading of three treasures, followed by Sankyemon.
Namandavts, namandavts, namandavts. Please join me with hands together as we read the three treasures. Hard is it to receive a human form. Now we have received it. Difficult is it to hear the Buddha Dharma. Now we hear it. If we do not receive awakening in this life, in what life shall we do so? Let us reverently take refuge together in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. Together with all beings, may we attain the great way of enlightenment, awakening to the supreme intent of the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. Together with all beings, may we enter the storehouse of Dharma, acquiring wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. Together with all beings, may we become united at the great assembly, being free of all bondage. Hard is it to encounter the supreme, profound, and wondrous Dharma, even in 100,000 million kalpa. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true intent of the Tathagata. Sankyemon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasure ni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasure ni kiku. この身根性に向かってどせずんば、さらにいずれの章に向かってかこの身をどせん。大衆もろともに指針に参謀に消えし立て祭るべし。自ら仏に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくは衆生とともに大道を体現して無常を起こさん。自ら法に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくは衆生とともに深く共造に入りて知恵海のごとくならん。自ら僧に消えし立て祭る。まさに願わくは衆生とともに大衆を通りして一切無限ならん。無常人人未明の法は百千万語にもあようことかたし、我今検問し従事することを得たり、願わくは如来の真実義を下し立て祭らん。Namandavts, namandavts, 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 namandavts.
Now, Reverend Umezu will deliver her Dharma message.
Please join me with hands together as I read a passage written by our founder, Venerable Shinran. While reciting the great name of Amida, the person who truly realizes joy and conviction for the vow wishes to respond in gratitude to the Buddha's benevolence with the heart of always being mindful of the Buddha. Naman Dabats, Naman Dabats, Naman Dabats, Nam. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you to those on Zoom for joining us, listening to the Buddha Dharma today. And for anybody who's joining us for the first time, thank you so much for being here today. And we're so happy that you could join us to listen to the Buddha Dharma here at West Los Angeles Buddhist Temple. The passage that I've just read, as mentioned, was written by our tradition's founder, Venerable Shinran, and it's found in his collection of poems on the three Dharma eras. In this poem, Venerable Shinran is expressing that for the person who has sincerely met with the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha in their life, the recitation of the Buddha's name, Namo Amida Butsu, is not done as a form of petitionary or self-centered prayer. It is not done as a form of amassing merits or virtues or, good points. It is not done for a wish of a better afterlife, and it is not done for our deceased loved ones. Rather, we recite the name as an expression of acknowledgement of receiving this great gift of the treasure of Dharma wisdom and compassion from Buddha, which we receive in the form of Buddha's vow to guide and rescue all beings from suffering. This recitation should also be done with the attitude of always keeping the Buddha in one's hearts and minds. This is the week of Thanksgiving already. And during this time of year, I think it's not uncommon for us to hear the question, what are you thankful for? Sometimes the question might be asked, well, what are you grateful for? Right? It's a time of year that encourages some introspection into our lives. And we may reflect on all the things that we cherish in our lives, from our friends and family, or maybe our material belongings. But, in some cases, life may be so difficult that we might not really feel grateful for anything, or it's hard to feel grateful at this time of year. But regardless, when we go through this process of reflecting on what we're thankful for, do we take into consideration this gift of Dharma wisdom and Dharma compassion that we are already receiving? Is the Buddha Dharma something that normally comes up in our list of things that we are thankful for? As Venerable Shinran explained, Namo Amida Butsu is a phrase that expresses deep, profound thanks to Buddha for this great Dharma treasure that we are receiving. But do we really feel that we have received this treasure? We might be asking, well, what is this wisdom? What is this compassion? These, on the surface are abstract words. How do I know I've received it? How can I be thankful or grateful for something that I don't feel that I have received? So I would like to share an example of how we are already receiving this wisdom and compassion at this Dharma service today through sharing the meaning behind the ritual of burning incense, which I would like to encourage all of you to do before you leave today. So I'm sure we all know incense burning in itself is an ancient tradition, right, that crosses cultures and religions. And has been one of, in the history of Buddhism, it has become one of the ritual practices for people who follow Buddha Dharma ever since Shakyamuni Buddha first turning the wheel of Dharma many, many years ago. And as you can see, we still keep this and engage with this activity. All cultures and traditions have different styles and methods of incense burning, right? And each culture and tradition has their own meaning for why they do it. And this is even true when we compare different practices of different Buddhist sects. You know, every sect has their own style of burning incense and the own meaning behind it. In our Jodo Shinshu tradition, here we have either sticks of incense laying down, or sometimes we'll put a piece of charcoal brick incense inside the burner, and it's all laying on a foundation of previously burned incense ashes. So in our tradition, instead of each practitioner offering sticks of incense themselves, the stick incense is already laying down, and instead we take a pinch of this ground loose powder incense and place it on top of the incense stick, which again is already in the burner. So I've asked different teachers, right, why is it like this? Why do we do this? It's kind of a unique way of burning incense. And no one knows for sure the exact reason or exactly how this method came to be. But you know, many people have different understandings, different theories. And you know, different theories are, well, this is just how we offer, you know, our thanks to Buddha. Or this is how, you know, it's meant to be for purity of mind, to purify our mind. Or it might just be to purify the room. And of course, I think it's okay to accept multiple reasons to burn incense. There's not necessarily one reason that is more correct than another. But I would like to share, you know, the explanation that resonated with me the most. And that explanation was that this is an expression of our receiving of the teaching and practice of Buddha. So before we offer incense, the person would come, we bow with respect to Buddha, we step forward with our left foot. The left side of our body is considered our dirty and impure side. And this originates from ancient India practices when the right hand was used to do clean things such as eating and giving gifts to people, and the left hand was used to clean things after eating. So stepping forward with our left foot means that we are putting our, you know, dirty, impure, unenlightened self forward in order to receive Buddha's teachings. And then, as I mentioned, our incense burners are filled with ashes. These ashes are the ashes of previously burned incense. So when a new stick of incense or the charcoal cube is lit and placed in the burner on top of the ashes, I was taught that this represents one's life, this new incense that's burned. Once it is lit, it will definitely become extinguished, right? That is the life of the incense. But this is just like our own lives. Once we are born, we will definitely pass away. So in this act, we are receiving the teaching of the truth of impermanence of life. Now, this whole piece of incense lays down on the foundation of ashes, right, that were burned before them. And so I just want to point out that in some other traditions, the sticks are standing up. So this is why I'm, clarifying that the stick lays down horizontally. And so the life of that incense is completely laying on the foundation of those that came before it. And this is just like how our lives are lived, completely on the foundation that has been laid by others that have come before us. In addition, we take the pinch of the ground incense and place it on top of the already burning incense sticks. Once this ground incense is added, right, it burns with the stick and their aromas are fused. They kind of like become one. Adding this ground incense is like our interacting with each other and mutually contributing to the lives of each other. This is the teaching of the truth of codependent origination or interconnectedness, that we are all inextricably linked. Besides this, after the incense is burned, right, or as it's burning, it diffuses an aroma and smoke into the room, affecting everyone in the room. Its existence, its life, naturally influences and affects the larger environment around it as it's living. It influences others intentionally and unintentionally. So this is like the teaching of that our self and our life is not simply limited to this physical body or some finite, life, but we are all part of life in a larger sense, which is immeasurable. So together, all of these things, just in this incense, are the teachings of the truth, that we do not have an independent, static self, that we are greater than what we just see in this body. Once the piece of incense is burned and completely extinguished, it too becomes ash that supports the next incense to come after it. Although the incense is not holding the same form as it did, right, when it started, it's still there in another form, supporting the next incense. This is like our becoming part of the working of Amida Buddha, being in the Pure Land as a Buddha. After our physical life ends, our life continues in another form that can truly benefit others and support others. This is the teaching of attaining nirvana in the Pure Land. After we offer incense, we put our hands together in reverence to Amida Buddha. We recite the Buddha name, Namo Amida Butsu. This recitation is done to express our praise and thankfulness to the Buddha for already compassionately sharing this wisdom of life with us. We have received this Dharma wisdom. We then step back with our right foot, right, our clean side, to signify that we have received the Buddha's wisdom and compassion, and we bow with reverence. And, at our temple, anybody can offer incense. And incense is something that this burning of incense doesn't have to be done only at the temple. Each of us can set up a small incense offering arrangement in our own homes if we choose. So in a way, incense offering can be done anywhere by anyone. And so this is like how the wisdom and compassion of Namo Amida Buddha can be received by anyone at any time. So for me, this meaning is the most significant explanation behind our offering and burning incense. And of course, we might just be going through the motions by rote, but we are still encountering these teachings just as we are. Through offering incense, whether we are aware of it or not, we've received the Dharma wisdom of the truth of impermanence, the truth of our codependent origination, our interconnectedness, the truth that our finite lives are simultaneously integral to the immeasurable life, and the truth that we can become Buddha after this life to truly benefit others. And that any person can come and offer incense at any time means that anyone at any time can encounter this wisdom. This is the embracing compassion of the Buddha that accepts and meets each of us as we are, wherever we are. There is no prerequisite or hindrance to receiving this wisdom and compassion. Even when we aren't willing to accept it or acknowledge it, or maybe we can't receive it because the conditions in our lives aren't ready to hear it yet, the Buddha is never stopping to work to try to get us to hear it and receive it. This is the great activity of Dharma treasure, of wisdom and compassion that is already being directed to us, that we are already receiving. Once we are able to acknowledge that we are already beneficiaries of this great treasure, then we can truly be aware and mindful of all that the Buddha's activity that's happening around us, that is constantly embracing us, constantly calling to us, constantly sharing this wisdom with us. And what words can we say to let Buddha know that we are receiving this gift? What can we do to repay Buddha for this gift? Of course, Buddha is not asking for anything in return, but when we receive something great, we have this feeling, right? Thank you so much. What can I do? What can I do to repay you for this? And so as Venerable Shinran teaches, the phrase that we should recite is Namo Amida Buddha, or Namo Amida Butsu in Japanese. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Thank you, Buddha, for accepting me and embracing me as I am, and for never giving up on me. I take refuge and find safety and comfort within the Buddha Dharma Sangha. Namo Amida Butsu has all of these meanings just in this phrase. And although I use the word phrase to describe Namo Amida Butsu, I think we should remember that it is not simply a phrase. It is a name. And it is not just any name, but it is a name that is a Buddha. The name itself is the Buddha. It is a Buddha name that came into existence specifically for the benefit of all beings who are suffering and all beings who are lost in darkness of self-centeredness and ignorance. This Buddha name is the culmination, the embodiment of immeasurable wisdom, immeasurable compassion. So not only are we never separated from this wisdom and compassion as long as we hold this name in our heart, when we recite the name, we are helping to share the existence of the immeasurable wisdom, the immeasurable compassion with others, so that they too can encounter this great gift and receive these great benefits of wisdom and compassion. This is how we are taught that we can express our profound thankfulness to the Buddha and repay the Buddha for what we have received. As we continue on in the week and make our preparations for any Thanksgiving plans we may have, I hope that we can all keep this Buddha name in our hearts, keep this wisdom and compassion in our hearts. And when we reflect on what we are thankful for, I hope that we can all truly remember this gift, this great Dharma treasure that we are already and constantly receiving in our lives. As I mentioned, some of us may be thankful for everything and everything this week, from family and friends down to whatever small material possessions we may love in our lives. But there may be some of us that are facing challenging times in life, right? Which makes it difficult to be thankful for much or thankful for anything. So whether this coming week may be a truly joyous time or a truly difficult time, whichever situation any of us find ourselves in, Namo Amida Butsu will always be with us. This wisdom is always guiding us, meeting us where we are, and this compassion is always embracing us as we are. So for this great gift, I hope that we can all express our profound thanks to the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas in our lives who have helped us meet with this great treasure by continuing to recite Namo Amida Buddha, Namo Amida Butsu. I would like to thank you all very much for attending our Dharma service today, and thank you very much for listening to the teaching of Namo Amida Buddha with me today. I hope that everybody has a meaningful Thanksgiving and is embraced within the compassionate life of the immeasurable Buddha. I would now like to close my message by reading a letter written by Master Renyo. I'll read it in English and Japanese. What is taught in the tradition of Shindan Shonin is that the entrusting heart is essential. For when we abandon various practices and take refuge in Amida with singleness of heart, our birth in the Pure Land is settled by the Buddha through the inconceivable vow power. The state we thus attain is described as with awakening of a single thought of entrusting. We join those who are in the stage of the truly settled. Recitation of the Nembutsu thereafter should be understood to be the Nembutsu as an expression of gratitude for the Tathagata's benevolence for settling our birth in the Pure Land. Humbly and respectfully. 小人日流のご関係の趣は信心のもって本当せられ候そのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心に皆に奇妙すれば不可思議の眼力通して文の方より往生は事情せしめたもそのくらいを一年ぽ記入症状始終とも釈しその上の称名念仏如来我が往生を定めたまいし言法人の念仏と心べきなりあなかしこあなかしこNamandab, Namandab, 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 Namandab.
Thank you so much for your Dharma message this morning, Reverend Umezu. Now we will have the reading of Ryogemon.
Please join me with hands together as we read Ryogemon, words of understanding of our tradition. We rely upon Amida Buddha with our whole heart for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings, and giving up the trust in our imperfect view. There is no doubt that the assurance of enlightenment comes at the very moment we entrust, and we recite the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, in joy and gratitude for the Buddha's compassion. We also acknowledge gratefully the benign benevolence of our founder and succeeding masters, who have led us to live in this profound teaching, and we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us. Ryoge shutsugon, moro moro no zogyo zashu jiriki no kokoro o furistete, isshin ni Amida Nyorai, warera ga kondo no ichidaiji no gosho, on tasuke sorae to tanomi moshite soro. 頼む一年の時、往生一条恩助け事情と存じ、この上の称名はご恩報者と存じ、喜び申し候。この恩断り、弔問申し分け候こと、ご解散承認ご出世のご恩。次第相乗の前知識の浅からざるご関係のご恩とありがたく存じ候。この上は定めおかせられる恩をきて一語限り守り申すべく候。 Namandavts, 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 namandavts.
All right, so now we have some announcements. On December the 4th, we will have our Bodhi Day Dharma service at 10 o'clock. And our guest speaker is Reverend Hibiki Murakami, who will be speaking in English and Japanese. Then our New Year's Eve Dharma service is on December the 31st, starting at 6 o'clock. And traditionally, after service, we serve udon. So you might want to consider coming for that. New Year's Day service, January the 1st, also at 10 o'clock. And these are all open to the public. Next, December the 17th, we have an activity here, which is called Mochi Tsuki, where we make mochi. So Mochi Tsuki literally means like pounding rice, and mochi is a Japanese rice cake. And it's a fun event. Members, family, friends come, and we all come together to go through the process of making mochi. So if you have never come to anything like that, like I said, it is a fun event. If you don't want to make it, you could just come in and watch. And we are selling it by the pound. It's $4 a pound. So if you would like to order it, we do have an order form for that. Then on the 18th, because we make such a mess during Mochitsuki, we have a general cleanup the following day at 9 o'clock. And again, everyone just comes and we just help out, cleaning windows, sweeping floors, wiping tables. Now we have a class which is called Shoshin Nembutsuge. This is on Saturday from 11 to 12. It's led by Reverend Takata, and we have one session left, which is on December the 10th. They are still selling a Monto Shikisho. It's a commemorative, it's what I'm wearing right now, but it's a special commemorative one. And the final order form is due by the 1st, December the 1st. If you decide to pick it up, it's $35, or if you have it mailed, it's $40. And then finally, every second and fourth Monday, we have what's called Yoga at the Temple. And this is strictly by Zoom. The second and fourth Monday from 7 to 8. So the classes are free. All these classes are free, but we do appreciate donations. So that concludes our service for today. Again, thank you all for joining us. After service, we have what's called Dharma Reflection Session, where Reverend Umezu conducts that. So we will be taking a short 5-minute break while she prepares for that. And again, as Reverend Umezu said, we do encourage you to come up and just offer incense if you would like. So, Sensei?
Namandats, 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 namandats. Please offer incense.